Hey guys, great to have you joining us again for They Call Me Pastor. Pastor Kyle and I are loving doing this and providing a resource. Would you do us a favor? Share this, encourage your friends to come and be a part and participate in this, and also let us know, are there topics that would be beneficial to you in the future?
Yeah.
We want to explore that and see what we can do to help out. So this morning, we're going to jump into the thought or the topic of continuing education in ministry. So that is a wide open thing here. I know for some, when you say continuing education, they're all automatically thinking degree.
Right.
I'm not thinking degree when I say continuing education. This is one of the things for me, when you look at every profession, insurance, medical,
Real estate,
educational,
Yep.
Everyone is required to go through some type of continuing education to help them grow. I know insurance adjusters have to do 24 hours every 2 years of continuing education. But when you look at pastors, leaders, ministers, there's nothing there. And I think I was telling you this earlier, the 2015 General Council, it was in Orlando, and resolution number 5 was about, regardless of credential status, that every Assemblies of God minister would have continuing education, so many units per year. That resolution got shot down so fast. And what was alarming to me was the arguments coming against it from the floor were phrases like, "I ain't got no time." And I'm like, we need to make time, because education or continuing education isn't about having a diploma or certificate. It's about growth.
Yeah.
It's about personal growth. And so my encouragement, and I'm not, besmudging or besmirching the School of Ministry platform. I came up to ordination with Berean School of the Bible. Yay, Berean. And go Dr. Steve Pennington, who's about to take over there. I am grateful for the correspondence courses.
Right.
I am grateful for the opportunity to take those classes and all the way to ordination. But I'm also grateful that I didn't settle.
Yeah.
Because had I settled, I would still be the same Don doing the same things that I've always done. I had men in my life early on that challenged me to grow. They challenged me to put myself in uncomfortable situations to stretch me to grow. And I'm so glad I did. So when I say continuing education, I mean stepping out of your comfort zone to learn something new that inevitably will be a blessing to you, to your family, and to the body of Christ.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think one of the things that we neglect the most is our education or our learning. And there's an argument to be made, and I get what they're saying from the General Council floor, but I understand them not wanting it to be forced.
Right.
I get that. But there also doesn't seem to be a huge emphasis on it personally for a lot of people.
Right.
And the churches that are growing are often led by pastors who are growing as well.
Right.
And I think it's important to expand your vocabulary, expand your influences. Right. I think when I started preaching, I had like 2 pastors that I had ever really listened to outside of the ones that I served under. And I spent a good 3 years just listening to different sermons, different pastors. How are you preaching this? And it did help me find my voice. But then I start reading books and I start taking courses, and I've taken multiple preaching courses since I've been pastoring Legacy.
Okay.
And I think it would be beneficial for the pastor that's been in the same church for 15 years to go take a course on preaching and expanding the way that you do things.
Right.
I think it would be helpful for them to take courses on what we talked about the last couple of weeks, board administration, finances. Like there's so much to what we do that you could take a different course every year and learn something. And then I don't know about you, but the changing landscape in our legal system
Yes.
in California alone, like that you could take take a course a day on that.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've done over the last several years, well, I'll go back to Whittier. We were at a place, the church was growing, but I found myself getting bored with it in growing. And I felt I was so locked into the church that I wasn't getting out into the community enough. Yeah, I was a volunteer chaplain, but even still that was limited.
Right.
And so I decided to take some classes at the community college. Sherry was working on her associate's degree, and I didn't have a degree, but I had my ordination through Berean School of the Bible, but I wanted to grow. So I started by taking a Psych 101 class. And it was very interesting going in, and the doctor there had his doctorate in psychology, and he did his studies in Germany, and a sharp guy. And I thought, boy, this is really way out there, secular psychology. But one day I wore a baseball cap in that said U.S. Marine veteran, and he stopped. He goes, "You're a Marine veteran?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Me too." And, of course, we got to talking, and over that came a relationship. And we would talk after class, and he'd say, "What do you think of this class?" I said, I am enjoying the class. I said, "Some of the procedures that you're talking about," I said, "I disagree with from a biblical perspective." And so took that class. He and I began to develop a relationship. I'm still pastoring the church.
Yeah.
Then I took Psych 201, and he was the one teaching that as well.
Nice.
And it's in this big lecture hall that's kind of stadium seating, you know. And I'm sitting all the way at the top, and he's down, and he's having discussion. And he said, "How many of you in here were spanked as a kid?" And, raised my hand. And he said, "Don, what did that look like for you?" I said, "Well, my dad's favorite Bible verse was, 'Beat him, he shall not die.'" And, and he goes, "Seriously?" I said, "No." I said, "But Dad was definitely the enforcer." And then he asked the question, "How many of you discipline your children with spanking?" And, of course, I raised my hand and walked through that with him. And he said, "What is your guide?" I said, "The Bible." And I quoted a couple. I didn't tell him I was quoting verses. I just said, I read this. And he goes, "Where is that?" I said, "It's in the Bible." He goes, "I need to start reading my Bible more." Okay, this is all about my personal growth. I'm stepping out to continue my education, but it comes a tool for evangelism.
Yep.
And so he says, "I need to get a Bible." So after class, I walked down. I said, "Hey, don't go buy one. I'll get you one." So I bought him a full life study Bible.
Cool.
And then Gordon Fee's book on how to read the Bible for all it's worth.
Nice.
And then so we're going into the summer, and he goes, "Hey, can you and I meet for coffee?" So we start meeting for coffee at Panera Bread every Monday and start developing. So here's this guy with this education. I've got no degrees, and we're developing this relationship. And then we started a feeding ministry at the church called Angel Food, and told him about it, and where you could get a box of food for one person for a month for $30. So he started coming to that. Then he started coming to serve at it. He's not born again, but because of me going to say, I want to better myself, I want to grow, comes a relationship. He calls me after several years, and he says, "Don, I've been dating my girlfriend 17 years. We want to get married." He goes, "Would you do our wedding?" I said, "On one condition, that I do your premarital counseling." And I did, and did their wedding. But out of that, he started coming and serving at our church before they got married, serving at work days and various things. It all started because I was willing to step out and grow in an area I had not grown before. And then when I started into my grad degrees, he wrote my reference letters. And they're supposed to write them and seal the envelope and send them off. He goes, "No, I want you to read my letter before I seal it." And his letter brought me to tears because of how much of an impact he shared in that letter that God had used me to make in his life because I was willing to grow.
Yeah.
And was I uncomfortable at times? Absolutely. But by growing that, and then when I did get my first degree, my first master's degree, I wasn't able to go to graduation. And so my friend Peter Cavana, who was my supervisor, came over to the States and preached, and he awarded me my degree in service, and my professor was there
Oh, that's cool.
and got to be a part of that and celebrated with us.
That's really cool.
And so you never know what will be the outcome of you choosing to grow in an area
Sure.
outside of. What I've realized is many times we go to conferences and seminars
Yeah.
about things we already like.
Yeah. That's true.
How to grow the church bigger, how to be a better leader, how to be a better preacher. Go do something to grow in an area that will stretch the living daylights out of you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how God will use that to change you,
Yeah.
to influence someone else's life. And I just spoke to this professor a couple of months ago. He's retired now. Great man, great friend, and just always good to connect. But that connection started because I was willing to go and be stretched at a secular campus.
Yeah.
And continuing education is great. Another area where it has helped me, COVID started. Okay?
Sure.
And I was like, what am I going to do? And my brother said, hey, why don't you get your adjusting license with your building knowledge? You'll make a great insurance adjuster. And then I realized you have to take this 40-hour course.
Sure.
Okay. You're reading insurance policies, what's covered, what isn't covered, what is illegal, what is legal. So I do this course. Then I start getting my licenses in various states. I think right now I still hold 14 or 16 insurance adjusting license in various states. But what it helped me do when we came and we took on the current church we're at, it was coming up for our insurance renewal. I had learned to read insurance policies very well. I was writing claims, adjusting claims, writing big checks, for upwards of $750,000 to pay all total loss claims. And so I'm looking at our policy, and the first thing I went, wait, we're only covered at 80%, but we're paying all this money. And so I'm going through the policy, and we've got another agent sitting there with us. She goes, yeah, that's a bad deal. I said, yeah, I know. As I'm looking at it, and I said, I want a comparison from your company to this. She goes, I'll do that. Then as I'm reading the policy, I'm like, wait, we sold this church sold this property 3 years ago. Why are we still paying premiums on it? So by being able to read a policy and be able to read a declarations page, I was able to call our current insurance company at the time and demand a 3-year refund.
Wow.
They said, well, we can't give you 3, we can give you 2. So what that did, it got us a refund check of $14,000.
Come on.
And then by being able to read the policy, I got a better policy with this other company that gave me replacement cost benefits. So regardless, it would pay
Sure.
versus only 80% of its worth. And it saved us $11,000 a year.
Wow.
Just by being willing to grow in areas, it has saved the church money. When I pulled up, I again, from an adjuster perspective, that's what I just come out of.
Sure.
I said, our roof is getting ready to cause us to get our insurance canceled. So I got up one day with our head of maintenance and walked the roof. I said, this roof is in really bad shape. He goes, how old do you think it is? I said, this is a 20-year shingle. It's 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, we're getting ready to get hammered. And so by being able to read insurance policies, by being able to read construction estimates,
Sure.
I was able to save the church. For instance, when we went to get our roof bids, 2 companies came back with a $97,000 bid to do a roof over, put shingles on top of shingles. I said, no, there's got to be rot under there. So I got another bid with a complete tear-off for $93,000. And sure enough, they tore the roof off, and we had to replace multiple sheets of plywood because there was rot.
Yeah.
You don't know how God will use you
Right.
if you're willing to make yourself uncomfortable and grow in areas that aren't your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's like, many times preachers will find I say preachers, ministers, period, will find a topic that they are really comfortable with. And all of their preaching, teaching, and writing will be on that subject matter. Step out of that. Educate yourself in areas that are different. And my one professor in my exegetical and hermeneutical methods course in Great Britain, we were in this class, and he starts saying, and I just closed my computer. I'm like, he goes, Don, are you okay? I said, no. He goes, why? I said, I would never say that to my congregation. And he laughed, and he said, Don, I'm a pastor. I would never say that to my congregation. Mm-hmm. But in this room, you're not a pastor, you're a theologian. Mm. And I need you to think differently and grow differently so that you can handle these conversations. That's what continuing education provides for us.
Yeah.
It provides opportunities to have conversations, to challenge our own comfort zone, to step out. I mean, to all those who got your credentials through School of Ministry, kudos. Praise God, you're working on it, doing that. But don't settle once you get the credential.
Right.
Challenge yourself to grow in areas that will stretch you and make you uncomfortable.
Well, it's been my experience that the job description of pastor seems to grow every day.
It does. It does.
And it's very rarely limited to what you see on the job description. Mm-hmm. So you don't know when you're going to need plumbing skills. You don't know when you're going to need electrical skills. You don't know when you're going to need shoot video skills. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you the amount of people that I have been able to minister to and the sheer joy of learning for me in the video space. Mm-hmm. But then when I step back and I go, man, I didn't just learn how to run a camera or how to light things or how to, fix audio. Then I start realizing, like, wait a second, all of this applies to church live streaming. Mm-hmm. And then I'm able to help other churches because we're doing it.
And you've helped us greatly.
Well, I'm grateful for that. But also, then you go, I'm not just running cameras, I'm dealing with clients. Mm-hmm. And I'm dealing with software. I'm dealing with hardware. I'm running a business. Mm-hmm. And now when you're preaching to people, like we have 12 now, 12 business owners in our small church here. I can relate to those guys better because it's sometimes hard to relate to every different type of person as a pastor.
Right.
But when I talk about business things from the pulpit, when you can relate what Jesus is talking about in maybe some business terms so that you're hitting them differently, now all of a sudden I've got a lot more buy-in from different guys that I wouldn't usually get their attention.
Right.
Because let's be real, they're looking at me going, what can a 36-year-old teach me?
Right.
Right. But I'm coming with, yes, pastoral experience. Yes, I know theology. But I also understand how to balance a budget. I also know how to do marketing and advertising. Yeah. I also know what cold calls are. And so in my life, I have painted curbs. I've flipped burgers. I've cooked fries. I've waited on tables. I've painted. My goodness. I can't. Every church that I've been in, I have painted. You're going to need to know these things.
Yeah, welcome to the ministry. Right?
Yes. So I think it's good to think like, okay, we should have some refreshers on what is and isn't allowed in our particular denomination, Right. But I think even more than that, to read books. Yeah, I don't have a mandated reading list for my staff, but I expect my staff to be reading. Mm-hmm. I'm reading.
Right.
And whether that's anywhere from Blackaby to Oswald Sanders to A.W. Tozer. I'm looking at my library right now. To Sanderson. I'm reading him every so often now. Then you swing the pendulum in the other direction and you watch YouTube videos. And I can't tell you how much value I've gotten out of different conversations had on YouTube about either pastoring or filming or whatever the topic is that I'm studying. But I'm also never. I had a professor in college tell me, I won't drop his name because there's a good chance he's seen this, but he looked me dead in the eye when I graduated and he said, "Don't apply to come back." He goes, "You're not the type to make it here." And I bought that lie hook, line, and sinker for a long time. And now I look at some of my friends who have all the degrees in their 20s, and I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I didn't apply to come back because I kept learning. And I'm hungrier now for knowledge and information and wisdom than I was in college.
Yeah.
And I think when I go back, oh my gosh, my wife is going to fry me for that statement. When I go back for a master's degree, it'll be for something that I want.
Right. Right.
Instead of having to do it.
But and here's the thing, Kyle. I did not get my first master's degree till I was 52 years old. You know,
Okay.
So, and I'm going to be honest with you, that was my first degree. I don't have a bachelor's yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I have 2 masters, and I'm in a PhD program. I want to encourage anyone who is listening to this. Don't make it about the certificate or the degree. Make
Right.
it about the growth.
Yep.
I when Sherry and I, during the COVID era, and I was doing the insurance adjusting, I literally thought maybe God was done with me from the pastoral perspective, and that I was just to support ministry and support a local church. And then I realized I would be hanging on a roof somewhere with a roofer. Come to find out he was a church planter with our fellowship, and that he was bivocational. And just listening to him talk, I could tell. And I began to speak life over him from my perspective of education and continuing education. And he goes, "How do you know all of these things?" I said, "Well, Assembly of God pastor for these many years." And just being able to, and you don't know how many times I was able to pray with someone standing on a roof, and Sherry even said it to me one day. She said, "You know, during this season, the world has become your pulpit." I didn't have a church, but the world had become my pulpit in places I'd never imagined going, whether it was northern Minnesota, Chicago, or southern Louisiana, or Auburn, Alabama. God gave me opportunity and influence because I was willing to be stretched, to continue an education. And education doesn't mean just in your field of study.
Right.
It's, just being available to let God grow you, stretch you, make you uncomfortable. I remember taking my qualification for the insurance company that I was going to be predominantly working for. And you had 3 chances to take the test. And if you blew it, they wouldn't have you back in.
Okay.
And so the first day of testing, the first part, passed it, no problem. The second part, I blew it. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't, I'm old, I can't do this. So I went back to my hotel room and I sat and I studied into the late at night, and I went back and I aced the test. By doing that, committing myself to that education, to growing and to studying, the first deployment for this company was into Chicago. There had been a massive storm, 5 tornadoes had gone through there. So we'll get deployed, and I'm sitting in this room, and there's about 150 adjusters in this room. And they go, "How many of you are new adjusters?" And I raised my hand. They said, "We don't mean to scare you, but you'll probably only be here a couple of days, and we're going to send you home." And I'm like, man, I need to work. I can't just be sent home. And so I went, and I said, I'm going to learn this. Well, we get there. We only have one trainer in what they call the war room. You go out and do the inspection, come back, and the trainer help you write your estimate. And they had one trainer for like 50 adjusters in that one room. And I said, I got to find another way. Then I remember they had virtual assistants. So I'd go out and do my inspection, and I'd call virtual assistants and get them to guide me through writing my resume or adjusting the policy, And so as I did this, I start seeing adjusters disappear, but I'm still there. And I'm one of the newer guys. So a month's gone. Now we're down from, in that area, because they took 150 of us and spread us out across the state. in that area down, we went from 50, now we're down to 25.
Mm.
And I'm there a month already. And I'm doing well. And my authority to be able to write off a policy, to write that adjustment was going up. And then at 2 months, I'm still there.
Mm.
And I'm like, wait a minute. They said I would be gone.
Yeah.
Because I continue to push in to stretch myself and to grow and to learn those things. I was the last adjuster on that deployment standing. Even my manager got sent home before me. I was being managed by a guy in Texas virtually. Mm. If you will commit to grow, it allows God to open doors for you. And you know, I've been out of the adjusting side for 3 years now, almost 3 years. I still have friends that I have influenced with the gospel that still reach out to me and say, brother, I miss you. Would you pray for my family?
Yep.
So your continuing education isn't just about getting more theological training.
Right.
Doesn't mean you neglect that. Grow there. But don't be afraid to grow in the area of psychology or, you know, taking a class at Home Depot on building skills. Because again, if you're pastoring, if you're bivocational, you may have to unclog that toilet, replace the plumbing line.
You're going to spend a lot more time at Home Depot than you think you are.
I often said if I could teach a introductory to pastoral ministry course, I would have a field trip, and it would be take everybody to Home Depot.
It would be good.
Yeah.
So how does this land for you? I think it's important that you don't overlook what God is doing in your life right now. So some of you are students. We're blessed to be able to speak into students' lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
The job you have right now is important. Believe it or not, the training that I received at In-N-Out Burger when I worked for them is applied here at Legacy Church. The way that I was taught to respond and to care for the stand, as they called it, but the way that I was taught to care for my work environment, the way we talked to people, the way they trained people, the feedback, the way they gave feedback, it all applies to what I'm currently doing here. And it is funny, I still have manager friends at In-N-Out that I'm talking to, and they've come to men's breakfast here, and they go, man, like you took what you learned there and you applied it here. And so don't overlook what God is doing right now in the job that you're doing or the role that you're in right now, because if you overlook it, you're going to miss what God is speaking and doing in your life now. Please don't think that every single time you step in the pulpit, your experience is going to go out the window. Right. It's actually going to fuel you. You're going to be able to speak differently. You're going to impact people differently because of what you're doing right now. So don't overlook it, and let's continue to grow together.
Absolutely. Continuing education, again, is so much more than a degree.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for my degrees. And
Sure.
I'm looking forward to finishing this last one. But at the same time, I am grateful for the opportunities to sit and to learn and to grow, to be stretched. I think one of the greatest areas of stretching theologically came by me not going to school here in the States, but going overseas and seeing a different perspective on how to do life and do ministry. Did it make me change things? No. It made me reevaluate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then it strengthened me in those areas. And so continuing education is all about personal growth and who you meet along the way.
Yeah.
Just from choosing to do that, I met one of my dearest friends. He just was here from England a couple of weeks ago and spoke for us, Pastor Dave Jones, and just a remarkable man of God. That all started because I was willing to get on a plane and go be uncomfortable, and how some of my greatest friends live in the UK.
So cool.
It is.
So cool.
It is.
Well, this is our challenge to you to continue to grow in your education. Go read a book, go take a class, go have an experience. Maybe some of you are saying, man, God, would you provide finances? The answer might be work. Don't be afraid to work. There's nothing wrong with being a bivocational pastor. If there was, I wouldn't be here today.
No, nor would I. That's what I did.
There's nothing wrong with it. Go read a book, have an experience, work a job, and then apply all of that to what God is doing in your context, in your church.
Amen.
You got anything you want to add to that?
No, that's
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of They Call Me Pastor. We'll see you next time.